Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of art, it's the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson, coming to you from the 40 West Arts District in Lakewood, Colorado. And joining me from his podcast studio on the Road of Enchantment, it's South Dakota's favorite son, the only man that I've ever spooned, my partner and friend, Wes Brown.
Oh my God, Todd, and that was a day to remember. So
you almost died of a heart attack.
I did. It was almost like seeing a bear for the first time.
Have we told this story before?
Not on air. We always explain it after. So I don't know. Are we going there today, or are we going to let him?
Let's. Well, I already mentioned it, so I think. Or do we just kind of tease this for a couple of episodes?
It's up to you, man.
Well, okay. So let's give it context then.
Okay, let's do it.
So back in the day, Wes and I first met at a apartment complex that we both lived in Littleton, Colorado.
That's right.
And we found out that we had some connections, photography being one, South Dakota being another, because my wife is from South Dakota. And we became fast friends. Well, one day early in our friendship, I guess it wasn't too early, but it was fairly early.
Yeah.
You know, we'd been hanging for a while, playing cards, making people cry, you know, having wives being mad at us for
namely my wife. Sign my heart's
it's
assassin.
Competitiveness in cards, right? I go over to Wes's house and I knock on the door, and his lovely wife, Tonette, answers the door. And I say, "Hey, is Wes at home?" And she goes, "Yeah, but he's sleeping." And I was like, "He's sleeping?"
A massive headache.
That's what she told me. But before she told me, I'm like, what is he, like 4? Like, why is he taking a nap at like 1:30? She goes, "He had a headache." I'm like, "Really?" And so then I was like, "Well, can I go see?" And I knew that something had transpired prior to me showing up. Namely, that Wes was probably pretty grumpy and grouchy prior to his wife telling him to go lay down because she let me right in. And so we walk over to the bedroom door, and it's cracked just a little bit. And I peer in, and there's Wes. He's all curled up in the fetal position. And so I look at Tonette, and she looks back at me, and I kind of give her the nod. And of course, she just let me walk right in. And I quietly tiptoe around the foot of the bed. And at this point, I'm thinking for sure he's going to wake up and catch me. And, the game's over, but he doesn't. And so I kind of slide around to the other side of the bed, and I very gingerly, kind of very carefully slide in next to him. And then I put my arm around him, and
now imagine he's spooning me. So it's my back, his front. He's all nuzzled in, puts his arm around me.
I very slyly put my arm around him, and I pull him in close to me. And I feel him take this really deep breath. And then I feel his body completely relax. And then I still didn't know what I was going to do quite yet. But then in my deepest voice, I get right up into his ear and I go, "What are you doing?" And he literally levitated up off the bed, holding his heart, screaming profanity. And that's how we sealed our bromance.
That's right. And it's just been heaven
that
since.
Boys and Girls is how podcasts are made.
That's right.
Did that get rid of your headache?
I don't think I had a headache after that. I think his arm around me and me relaxing relieved my headache, because I actually remember just totally relaxing, breathing out, and then this strange voice came over. And then I felt like I was possessed by the devil. So. Or the devil left my body at that moment.
Right.
Maybe it was that. I don't know. But yeah, so
it was
that
an exorcism of sorts.
That was, yeah. But for that brief moment, it was heaven on earth.
It still is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're closer now than we ever been.
Right.
Well, except for maybe
we are truly like brothers. We love and we've fought like brothers.
Yes, we have.
You know, we pulled back the curtain on that one. We've also had our issues.
That's right.
Driving down 6th Avenue, screaming.
Marriage counseling in the driveway on Carr Street.
Yep, hugging it out in my driveway.
That's right. We should do counseling for people, because first thing is like spoon, like you've never been spooned before, and then hug it out at the end of the argument.
There you go.
Perfect relationships. That's right.
If you're a young person, newly married, this is what it's all about: spooning, communicating, and hugging it out at the end of it. Never go to bed angry at each other.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
There we go.
Tips
That'll
from
be
your
$150, please.
Yep. Tips from Uncle Wes and Uncle Todd.
Yep.
Our Patreon account is
Right.
Wes has learned a lot of things in his time here on Earth, as I have as well. And, 3 marriages in, he's kind of got it down at this point. And, I'm on my second. So
there we
I think
go.
we're good. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to throw away. It's like pancakes. You get the first marriage. Yeah. It doesn't quite go quite like you think. You throw it out and then you got the next one. And then the rest are great. Or the next one is great. Or maybe this third one is great.
Dude, I'm not doing it. If this one, and I think I'm good after 25 years.
I would think so.
If this one doesn't work out. I'm
completely happy. Although sometimes my wife doesn't believe me. I'm completely happy because I'm a grumpy bastard sometimes. I don't mean to be. It's just.
Oh, that's the other tip we should. Ladies, if you're, depending on what age your man is, eventually, if you're there long enough with him, and we're talking like middle age, just know a man of a certain age is going to be grumpy at times.
Yes. It's just human nature.
It happens. It's just a gender thing. Don't sweat it.
It's not personal.
No, it's never personal.
No.
It's just the world kind of just beats you down
a
little bit every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
More so now than ever.
We get grumpy as well,
It's true,
yeah, but we can't talk about that. We don't have that perspective.
When I say that to my wife, like, my excuse is I'm a man of a certain age, and she just calls BS every single time. She's like, that's not even an excuse anymore, dude.
You just humans get grumpy.
Yes.
Yeah, but I thought that I never wanted to be that guy, and I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? You see your dad or somebody that's older, like, being grumpy, and like, what's going on? Like, I don't want to be that guy. And then one day you wake up and you go, like, now I get it. Like, the little things kind of start to weigh on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, my wife can be grumpy too, but it's few and far between, or a rarity, compared to what may or may not happen on any given week with me.
Oh my God. Hey, the cat's out of the bag. We have a guest.
We do have a guest. Should we talk some art?
Let's talk some art, buddy.
All right. Before we get to that, I just want to mention real quick, Art and Ag, 4th annual at the Fleischer Family Farm, located at 2005 South Zephyr Court. It's happening September 20th from 10 to 4. Come out to the farm, get some farm fresh produce, see some phenomenal art. We got a great lineup this year for you. And it's a great way to kick off the fall season. So come out, support local artists, support a local family farm. And who knows, we'll be kind of sliding into what's going to be the holiday season. It'll just be right around the corner. You already got your Halloween decorations at Costco or Sam's Club or whatever. So just kick it off with some gift buying for the holiday season at our little art fest on the 20th.
And I'll be giving out good relationship advice and tips under the big blue banner that says Stex Advertising. So come down and look for the big blue tent. I'll be there doling out some great fatherly advice, even though I'm not your daddy.
I'm not sure anyone's going to come now.
Oh, you don't? All right, Wes took it too far again.
Hey, and we're going to have totes, right?
Yes, we'll have some tote giveaways, and we'll have some other little things I'll probably be able to give out.
So be the coolest person at your King Supers or your Whole Foods, wherever you shop. Come down, get a free tenant tote.
Big tenant tote, big orange one, so you can find it in a dark closet or in your trunk.
Yep, there you go. So come
and
down.
Fill it with fresh produce from Fleischer Farms.
Yep, there you go.
Are you actually coming down for it, Wes?
I am.
Oh,
I haven't been to Denver in probably over a year, and it's time.
Was that the last time you were down here for Art and Ag, or were you down there in between?
No, I think that's probably it. I don't think I came down.
It's been 2 years.
Has it been 2 years? Seems like yesterday.
2 years. It's been 2 years since we've seen each other in person.
Good God. I mean, we get to see each other a lot on the Zoom, but
I know, but we don't see each other in person. I'm not even going to give you a hug. And you know me, I'm not a hugger. So,
and it's been for you, what, 16, 17 years since you spooned me. So maybe,
easy. Like, I think it's even longer, dude.
Could be.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's been longer now. Anyway, we're back. Do we have a guest?
We do have a guest.
That's right.
Yeah. A lovely guest that does phenomenal art, like over the top. I love it. All right. We became aware of our next guest's work a little over a year ago. In fact, she participated in Art and Ag last year. And now it seems like I can't go into a gallery these days without seeing a piece of hers somewhere here in Denver. You can check out her beautiful work at our website, Tiffani Erdmanczyk.art.com. And you can follow her on Instagram at Tiffani Erdmanczyk Art on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Tiffani.
Hi.
Thank you for spending a little time with us this afternoon.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk with you. Like, I think the first time I met you is when I brought Lindy Bush in here at the Genesis Gallery.
Yep.
And I think that was the first time we met in person. I think I had seen your work prior to that, but it was nice to put a face and a name to the work.
Yeah. Lindy had her show up at Genesis, and I came in to see her work, and then you and your wife popped in while we were there.
Yeah. How's your summer going?
So far, so good. It was a little warm, probably a little bit warmer than I like, but good, busy.
And you live here in Lakewood as well, is that correct?
Yep, I'm in Lakewood.
Nice. All right. How do you like living in Lakewood?
We love it. Yeah. We got a pretty big yard, so our border collies have enough room to run around, and we got a great little neighborhood. We got some chickens in the back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes to the mountains, 20 minutes to downtown Denver, so it's kind of like the perfect little location.
That's what I love about Lakewood as well, because if I have to go, like, say, cover NBA down at the Ball Arena, like door to door, it's a 20-minute drive, even on a Friday evening. And then, like Red Rocks is 12, 15 minutes from my house. So it's a great place to live. And I will say this, the city of Lakewood is very art friendly, and they offer a lot of things to the citizens that live here.
They do. Yeah.
And Lakewood is bigger than most people think. It's a pretty big town, isn't it? As far as acreage.
It is. And what Tiffani was just saying, as far as like large lots, large yards, because this is all farmland out here, there's these weird pockets with like horse properties. And like I said, the lots tend to be a little bit larger. Same with Wheat Ridge too, actually. But yeah, it's a great place to live, I think.
Yeah. We're happy we landed here.
Yeah.
I'm going to start this off by asking you, what is your earliest art memory?
I was probably 3 or 4, and I was at a kid's birthday party, and she did not want me to color in her coloring books because she thought I was going to color outside the lines of the coloring book. And so I didn't get to color, but then later on her mom was like, "Do you want to color? You can go up there and color by yourself." And so I went up there by myself. The rest of them were playing and I was coloring. And then later on they came up and they saw, what I was doing. And all of her friends were like, "Oh, she's doing such a good job. I don't know why you didn't let her color before." And I was like, see, I'm good. You don't have to shun me from it. So I was like, that was my first art experience.
And I love that.
Then the follow-up question is, how old were you when you learned to color outside the lines?
Oh, geez. Probably architecture school when I in my early 20s when I was like, you know what? The rules are good, but they're meant to be broken.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard for us. Like we want to follow the rules and, we're, beat in like color inside the lines, on a whole metaphorical sense. Right. And breaking outside the line is a good thing.
Oh, for sure. The line is just a suggestion.
There you go.
Did you have a lot of art experiences as a child?
Honestly, no, not really. I took some art classes in high school because to get into architecture school, you have to have a portfolio, but didn't really get into art itself until college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outside of like what we think of as art, were you a maker of things? Did you create in other ways?
Yeah, anytime there was like a project at school, I was always kind of very creative in the ideas that I came up with and just generally kind of thinking outside the box a little bit. So that's more of where I guess my dabbling with art kind of started, was just thinking outside the box for other things.
How does creativity manifest itself are you just constantly kind of like, is it being creative, creativity, or is it something that's like you're thinking about a lot, or is it just kind of pop in? Can you describe it, or is that something that's just innate?
It's just something I've kind of always just been a really visual person. And so understanding, like how things go together or trying to figure out how things go together. And that kind of translates into my art as well and how I build it all because I do a couple of different processes that are a little bit atypical for a watercolor artist as well. And so just trying to push the boundaries of things has kind of always been something that I like do subconsciously.
Sure.
Yeah.
And where does that come from? Do you come from a family of that kind of thought, do you think? Or is this something that's just all you?
It's all me. Yeah, it definitely did not come from either of my parents. Yeah.
And where are you from originally?
North Carolina originally.
Oh,
Yeah.
where at? Just out of curiosity.
I was born in Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah. But also lived in Monroe. And then I went to high school in a small town called Wadesboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
It's like an hour and a half east of Charlotte.
So you weren't like ultra engrossed with art growing up. It was in college that you really started to explore it.
Yeah.
But you're an architect by day.
I am.
That's your day job.
Mhm.
And I look at that as an art form.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think I have an appreciation for architecture and especially, really good design, not just utilitarian or
Right.
and I know that not all projects are always exciting or beautiful because you're working within, you're working with clients and sometimes there's, budgetary constraints, right?
There's always budgetary constraints.
Yeah. Do you do mostly commercial architecture or residential?
Commercial. Yeah, I
Commercial.
started out doing residential. I worked for a design build firm first, right out of school, and so I didn't even sit at a desk. I sat on a site and kind of figured details out there and kind of instructed the guys that we had building what to do. So it was kind of a very untraditional way of starting in architecture. But that also made me realize that I did not want to continue doing residential architecture because you become a marriage counselor.
Oh God. Yeah.
That's not really what I signed up for. So I then quickly switched over to commercial architecture.
Yeah. Our high school was kind of like a Voltech school almost because we had a lot of BIA money because I lived on the res and open reservation. But I took mechanical drawing and architecture all 4 years of my high school and just loved it and then never pursued it. So there's a little bit of regret there for that because that was I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I took those classes in high school too. Yeah.
So that kind of gave you the taste for it that kind of set you on this path to be an architect?
That and growing up, we moved around a lot. We lived in a bunch of different houses, and I kind of was always acutely aware of how different our family interacted in the house that we were living in. And so just that sort of changing of space and seeing how it affected our family and how we hung out or where we hung out just kind of started it from the get-go for
Oh, that's
me.
interesting. How a different house can
That is interesting.
change the dynamic. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, if like you have a big yard, you hang out in the yard. If you don't have a big yard, you hang out on the front porch, or if your kitchen's not that big, then you hang out at the dining room. It's kind of little things
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
interesting. And I guess it's because I never give it much thought, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's interesting.
But you were aware of this as you were growing up.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay. Have you always been a pretty observant person?
Yeah, I much more enjoy listening to people and watching them than actually doing all the talking myself. So, hopefully I'm better at this podcast because I do talk and not just listen. But
So we're pretty lucky to get
Exactly.
you on then.
yeah.
So I was reading up on your higher education,
Mhm.
going to college. You have 2 degrees in architecture?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's of arts in architecture and then a bachelor's of architecture.
Wow.
What differentiates between those two exactly?
The fifth year of school. So the fifth year is a thesis, and that's required for you to become a registered architect.
Okay. All right. I love architecture. Like I said, I have some favorite architects. Do you have favorite architects?
I do.
Who are some of your favorite architects?
Tadeo Ando, he's a Japanese
Mm.
architect. He does most work in concrete. Kingo Kumar is also a really great Japanese architect. Alvaro Siza, I think he's Spanish or Portuguese. I can't remember one. So mostly European architects are my.
Yeah, they're the cool ones.
They have less regulations than we do.
And I'm going to guess, and I'm not familiar with those architects, so now I'm going to have to look them up. But I'm going to guess that it's clean design. Is that a good assessment?
That is a very good assessment. Yes.
Okay. Wes, do you have a favorite architect?
Well, no, not really. I mean, Frank Lloyd Wright, but that's everybody's because that's the only one we know, right?
Right.
I mean, architects aren't one. Isn't there one called Gary? The last name is Gary.
Frank Gehry. Yeah.
Frank Gehry. Thank you. And his stuff is amazing as well. But I haven't delved into like the fine. And there's some like cool like modern Japanese buildings, which is probably one of the two that you mentioned that are really cool. Like so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably those. And and I've been to Frank Lloyd Wright's the one down in Arizona. And that's a really cool place to go to.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't remember. It's like Tellenhausen West or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but that's an interesting. So anyway, that's the extent of that.
Frank Lloyd Wright is usually the only architect that most people know because he's just
Right.
so well known.
Yep.
My favorite architect is probably Richard Neutra.
Mm.
Really modern, clean design. Wasn't he originally from Austria? Is that correct? Tiffany, do you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I'd have to look that up. And then he designed a lot of the like modern houses like in this Palm Springs area. And they're really beautiful, like
Yeah, really.
aesthetically just like over the top. I would love to live in a Neutra house. That would be a bucket list thing for me for sure.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't mind living in a neutral house as well.
So you get your degrees in architecture. What is your path from there? Do you immediately, I mean, you kind of said that you started working and doing residential stuff. Were you working primarily in the North Carolina market, or did you immediately leave and go elsewhere?
I immediately left. I moved to Houston, Texas to go to grad school. And I went for a week and decided I hated it. So I quit and then got a job with the design build firm in Houston, but didn't really like Houston. It's a little too humid for me. So I moved to Austin, Texas after that and lived there for 10 years. And so that's where kind of most of my formative years of architecture were.
How was that? Did you like Austin?
I loved Austin. Yeah, it was great. It was great for my 20s. Had a really good group of friends. Lots going on there. Great music, great food. It's just a little too warm, so I had to leave.
So I'm gathering that you're more of a cooler weather gal.
I am. Yeah, I'm very warm natured, so the cooler, the better.
I'm with you there. So from Austin, where did you end up?
My husband and I moved to Seattle for 7 years.
wow.
Oh,
And
how was that?
it was good. I loved Seattle. My brother's still there. That's where my office is. So I still work for a firm up in Seattle. But the rain got to us. It was very in 9, 10 months of gray. We
Right.
very much quickly realized we, needed more sunshine. So here we are in Colorado.
The Sunshine State.
Yep.
And people don't realize that I think we have more sunshine than any other state,
Yeah.
including Hawaii.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's what we're known for.
South Dakota was the Sunshine State according to their flag forever. It was a marketing ploy, though. It was. I mean, I'm serious. It used to be, instead of the Rushmore State, it used to, around the ed, it said their Sunshine State. Look it up.
Yeah. Well, South Dakota isn't really known for the great marketing campaigns.
No, meth were on it.
Meth were on it. It's got to
you,
be like
Christy,
the
no.
worst marketing campaign
I knew we had to
ever.
get Christy in here eventually. Thank you, Christy.
And you've lived in Colorado for how long?
3 years now.
3 years.
Oh,
Excellent.
nice.
Yeah. And how long have you been exploring watercolor?
Since college.
Okay.
Yeah. One of our professors, well, a lot of our professors liked to use watercolor as a means of kind of rendering our designs or just kind of sketching and that sort of thing. And one of our professors also taught a watercolor class as part of our curriculum. And so I took that class and fell in love and have been doing it ever since.
That's pretty spectacular. What is it about watercolor that really like got you jazzed?
How calming it is to work with it.
Mm.
Kind of a naturally anxious person. I'm always kind of looking for tips and tricks to calm myself down, and watercolor really helps with that.
So you find it pretty like a meditation. It's meditative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What causes you to be anxious that you're kind of like...
Just my general nature. I was just born an anxious person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were born that way.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm just curious, so like, it's some people, there's certain things that kind of, are triggers or whatever, but, and are you anxious, Wes?
I can be. Yeah. I think a lot of times I'm not, but like when there's a lot of intensity, or like when I was working on my master's, yeah, I was pretty intense. And then anxiety, and then I started suffering from anxiety things, and I had to like work through breathing, and even to this day, like I can get pretty overwhelmed, but I don't know why it came, but all of a sudden it came, and I've managed it pretty well the last few years, but but going outside, being out in nature, very calming. That can bring me down quick.
Yeah.
So animals, watching, even like I have a rabbit in my backyard that shows up, and when he comes around, he or she, very calming, just like puts me. Todd, what calms you down in this world of anxiety?
I'm pretty good about keeping anxiety at bay, I think, for the most part. What triggers it is massive amounts of caffeine.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah, that's not good for the nervous system
itself. That can get me pretty amped. And I love caffeine. I love my coffee in the morning. So I've been trying to temper it, but I go in phases. Yeah. But nature, like you said, and I get the sense by looking at your work, Tiffani, that nature is one of those things that probably calms you, and that you're very much, you get out and probably hike, I imagine, and get out in the outdoors.
Yeah, I love being outside. I would hands down be outside 9 times out of 10 rather than be inside.
Yeah.
So is it hard for you to like sit at a desk then and and do your work at times as far as like, I know it's a pretty intense job, I would imagine, being an architect, and you have deadlines that you always have to meet.
Yes.
Um, is that difficult?
Not so much anymore. I mean, I've been doing it for over 20 years, so I've kind of just gotten used to it, and you learn to adapt in that way. But in the beginning, as a new architect, it was super, super stressful. Like I
Yeah.
remember sometimes just going home and laying on my kitchen floor and being like, I'm so overwhelmed right now.
Of all the places that you live, have you found that Colorado's maybe your favorite?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Places that I lived in the States. Yeah. I
Where else have you
Ooh.
lived?
did a
Yeah.
summer in Spain in college.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
bet I bet that was pretty spectacular.
It was pretty awesome.
I've never been to Spain. So what part of Spain? Just because, so I can relate.
Santander, it's on the northern coast of Spain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to Spain and would love to. Well, I haven't been to Europe and I would love to go, but Spain sounds interesting. So great experience.
Oh, wonderful experience. I hands down would tell anyone to do any kind of study abroad program if they get the opportunity to do that.
And people pretty welcoming in Spain.
Yeah, yeah, they were really welcoming. We had no problems. We did some traveling afterwards. The only place we had issues was in France. We got spat on by some French people,
Nice.
but
Nothing like being spat on by French.
Really?
yeah,
What was I kind of want to know the circumstance of why that would even happen.
I don't know. I think we were by the Eiffel Tower, and I was traveling with three of my other buddies, and I think they just heard us speaking English and they decided to spit on us.
That's horrible.
Ah, it is. That's just
I
sad.
had the exact opposite
Oh, really?
experience
Really?
at that. Yeah, I was at the Eiffel Tower with my two buddies that I was traveling with, and this is late 80s, this is 89. It was one of the most lovely experiences that I had when I was in Europe. The only bad part about it is I was hanging out with two dudes and I'm like looking around, there's all these couples like, embraced and looking over the city at night, and there was a nice little breeze. So it was very romantic. And I'm like, what am I doing here with these knuckleheads, right?
Did you not spoon them then? I mean, that seems like a pretty
Spooning was
magical.
not a part of the equation. Not until I met Wes. And like I said, that, he's the only man that I've ever spooned. So yeah.
Yeah,
Wes, I thought you felt really lucky.
I did. I do. I feel really lucky. And I think he's the only man that's ever spooned me that I remember. So
So you're a watercolorist. Do you
Mhm.
work in any other mediums?
I've dabbled in some other ones, but watercolor is my favorite, so that's just kind of what I go back to.
have you done gouache?
A little bit, and I actually just bought some the other day so I can experiment a little bit more now that I'm done with putting all my stuff together for my show that I'm about to hang. I have many, many ideas of things that I want to kind of experiment with, and gouache is one
Right.
of them. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Now, most artists we talk to either love watercolor or hate it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a love or hate kind of medium.
And what they hate about it is it's very hard to control, correct?
Mhm.
But this is the thing that you love about it.
It is. I mean, because in a lot of ways, I am kind of a control freak. That's like the architect side of me. And watercolor helps me to let loose
Mm.
and learn to not need to control everything. So it's a good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
love that contrast.
Yeah.
So take a moment and kind of describe what you do and what your work is about, because it's very different than what people might imagine. And if you're looking at Tiffany's website right now, you'll see right off that this isn't your typical watercolor work.
Yeah. I am an abstract watercolor artist, and I do the abstraction also as kind of a counterbalance to the architecture, where I'm actually pretty detail oriented and do the more technical end of side of architecture. And so, abstract watercolor artist, and I do utilize a lot of textures in my work. And the most prominent texture you'll see in my work is gained by using salt while it's wet. And the texture that the salt represents or shows up in the work represents the neuropathy that I feel in my body because I have neuropathy. And so that texture is the best representation that I have for what it feels like. And so it's a therapy for me to repeat that in my work. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, kind of the gist of it.
So somebody that doesn't paint in watercolor, which would be me, what does salt do when you add it?
So the salt will push the pigment away from where it is, and so you kind of get textures with that you can kind of see in the water. So actually see
Yeah.
that texture right there is done by salt.
Okay.
This neuropathy. So like I kind of know what neuropathy is, like people experience it after they've had some kind of injury or something like that. Is it the same of what you experience? Or I've seen you write that it's a sensory neuropathy. So explain that a little bit more, if you would.
So I developed it in my early 30s from a severe B12 deficiency. My body doesn't absorb the vitamin B12. And so B12 regulates your central nervous system. And so by being so deficient in it for so long, I developed neuropathy from that. And outside stressors are what activate it. So that's the sensory part of it. So if I'm overstimulated or really anxious, it presents itself in neuropathy.
Wow.
Now,
is
this an unusual thing or is this a common thing that maybe just people don't know about?
For people that have had severe B12 deficiencies, yeah, it's pretty typical. But not that many people know about it. So, which is another reason why it took me a very long time to figure out why I was having the neuropathy that I was feeling and all the other symptoms. Just because it took me a very long time to get to a doctor that could actually diagnose it.
And I think diabetes can trigger it as well or start it.
Yeah.
Like my dad has neuropathy in his feet and his hands. And it's interesting, like he has no finger dexterity, or I shouldn't say no. He has very limited finger dexterity compared to, where he used to. And I think it's because of the diabetes. But maybe it's because he's deficient in B12. I mean, obviously he sees a doctor and we're taking all that stuff, but maybe it's from that. I don't know.
There are a lot of older folks who are B12 deficient. B12 is the hardest vitamin for your body to break down and absorb. And so the older you get, the harder your body has to work. And so a lot of older people get diagnosed with diabetes or MS because those symptoms for B12 deficiency are mimicked by or mimic MS and diabetes.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you end up having to take like B12 shots or something like that to help? Okay.
Yeah, I get the B12 injection every month.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if your body's not really able to absorb it other ways, right? And there's not a lot of B12 foods that have B12, right? Like you couldn't eat enough foods that have B12 vitamins to compensate for that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't absorb it through the digestive tract. So the injection into the muscle bypasses the digestive tract and just goes straight
in your system.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I first learned that I was like B12 deficient, I went in the best source of B12 out there is beef liver. And so I went and tried to eat some fried beef liver from Popeyes. And I was like, oh God, this is not going to go well.
I mean, liver just in general is a polarizing thing, right? Like, yeah.
Well, and smells too when you cook it, like liver and onion. I remember growing up, my dad would eat liver and onions. My mom would not touch it. So I ate it because, she's cooking for my dad and me. And I just remember the smell. I didn't mind the texture necessarily, as long as it was smothered with onions, but the smell, it just smells when you cook. Yeah. So
your body, does it just have like this kind of like pulsing thing that goes on, or what is that like?
So I guess kind of a couple of different sensations is, I guess, like the word that I like to use. I do get like electric shocks in my arms. It just feels like I'm being electrocuted every now and then. Which sounds, I know that sounds horrible, but
Well, it's your nerves triggering, right? It's the nerves. Yeah.
And then a lot of mine actually presents in my head, and it kind of feels like, I mean, you remember when like you're flipping through the channels growing up and you get the snow on the station? That's kind of what it feels like in my head.
Wow.
If you kind of can picture that as a feeling. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. And you're the first person I've ever met that had been, and you had told me this before, that it was really hard to diagnose, but that I've ever interacted with that has had this thing. Though I might know other people from what you were describing before because it's misdiagnosed a lot of times, it sounds like. So your art is an extension of part of what you go through or what you've experienced. I'm going to pull up a piece and I want to talk a little bit about it, but I guess what I want to ask you is that because a lot of these feel outside of that. If I didn't know that this is kind of an extension of you expressing yourself and then what this does for you, I would just look at this and go, wow, these are like really beautiful abstract pieces that have like this nature vibe to them.
Which is kind of what I love about it, because something that was such a deep, dark time in my life when I was first diagnosed with it and developed it. I love that it brings so much calmness and joy to people. And I love that sometimes they can actually recognize other textures and other things in them as well. I mean, I've had people tell me that it looks like geodes sometimes, or like other rock formations. And it makes me feel better knowing that that sort of thing exists somewhere else outside of my body as well.
Right.
Yeah, I have this piece pulled up, and this is on Tiffany's website, and this one's entitled Glacier Beach. And just a beautiful, beautiful piece. And that's exactly what I feel like. I can spot your work in a heartbeat when I'm like recently I was at Bit Factory Gallery and I'm like, oh, Tiffani. And and I was talking with Bill, the owner, and he's like, yeah, I really love her work. And I'm like, well, that's so cool that you incorporated. And I can't remember the show that you got juried into there, but it was a fantastic show. And I was really happy to see your work as part of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The piece that was in the show.
You said that this was in the show or wasn't?
The piece behind me is the piece that was in that Bit Factory show that.
Oh, gotcha. Not the one that we're currently looking at.
No.
And this particular piece, this is definitely kind of, for me, kind of sums up what I experience when, and I definitely have an experience when I look at your work, and it's that calmness does come through and kind of wash over me. Like, it just has that effect. Like when I've seen your work at NKollectiv too, I'm like, oh, there's a piece of Tiffany's, and I want to spend time with it. I want to stand there in front of it and just kind of be enveloped by it. Is that the feeling that other people kind of express when they see your work?
Yeah, which is very, A, it's kind of weird, but also B, is great. That I love that people want to, that are calmed by my work and that they like to spend time staring at it.
Take a moment and talk a little bit about this Glacier Beach.
I did this piece at a time when I wasn't really doing series. I was just kind of doing individual pieces. And I've always wanted to go up north and see the glaciers. I haven't been able to do that, but I do like to look at a lot of aerial photographs to get inspiration for compositions and sort of thing in my work. And so an aerial photograph of a glacier beach is where I drew the inspiration for this one.
It definitely has that vibe. I'm thinking of, a drone shot or aerial shot. And yeah, now that you mention that, I'm like, yeah, it totally looks like an aerial shot. Yeah. Now, did you incorporate some of that salt in this particular piece?
Oh, definitely. That's where, so within all the black, where all the texture is, all of that texture is obtained by salt.
And so what is that process? Are you just sprinkling the salt like in certain areas, or how does that work?
Yeah, so while it's still wet, and depending upon the kind of texture you want, you have to kind of wait for the certain amount of wetness or dryness within the piece. And you sprinkle the salt however you want. And I mean, there's a bunch of different types of salt, and I've settled on coarse sea salt as being the salt that I like that gets the texture that I am going for. And so just how you sprinkle it, you get certain effects with it. And then as the painting dries, the salt is pushing the pigment away from where the salt is on the paper. And then once it's completely dry, you can just scrape the salt off.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's so interesting. And how did you happen upon this particular like technique or part of your process?
I was taking some additional watercolor classes in Seattle, and one of them was just teaching you how you could do or get different textures in watercolor. In the moment that I learned or did the salt for the first time, it was just sort of light bulbs were going off because at that point when I was taking these classes, like I still didn't really have a style. I mean, I just kind of did it, in my room whenever I felt like it, and then wasn't showing it to anyone or, trying to sell it or anything. But once I finally learned how to do this texture, that's when I kind of feel like I really developed what I consider my style of watercolor.
Yeah. It's really cool looking. I like it a lot. I love the like you said, the texture you get with it.
Mhm.
How much, like in this piece, how much is it, are you have control of it? And then how much of it is kind of the randomness of the pigment and the salt? I mean, I'd imagine everything in blue, you're visualizing blue in that area and black in the next. And then how much of it is just kind of pure happenstance because of the chemical reaction?
Um, I mean, I would say it's probably 70-30, 70
Okay.
because of how long I've been doing it, I can control it a little bit better. But I mean, you're working with water, and so water is always going to do what water wants to do.
Right.
That's how we have valleys and canyons. I mean, like, it's always going to win. And so if you try to battle it too much, you're just going to ruin the painting. So you have to
Right.
let go a little bit and just let it do its thing.
And then do you put the pigment down first, the watercolor down first, and then put salt on top, or do you salt it? Why? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I've seen this done before, but I'm not that familiar with it, obviously. So it's really fascinating. And it gives you really cool effects. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do try to post a couple of videos every now and then on Instagram. So you can kind of see me in the process of doing that. So they're reels, what the kids are doing these days. And so there's some process videos on my Instagram.
So when you sprinkle the salt, do you do it via like, do you get it in your hand and then just kind of sprinkle it around, or are you just kind of shaking it? Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And then sometimes I'll move pieces around if they're too close together. I know that that's not going to really get the composition that I want, or too far apart. So I'll sometimes move them around.
Oh, cool.
So
And this is done in different layers.
yeah, well, at least in this one. So I painted the blue layer first, let that dry, and then painted the black layer second. And the black layer is the one that had the salt sprinkled on it.
Wow.
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then it says on here that archival varnish and cold wax finish. So you actually use cold wax to like seal the deal?
Yeah, so this is once the painting's done, I will flatten it again. And then once it's flattened, I mount them to cradled wood panels. And so in that process, there's no glass. So you still need to protect the paper. And so I'll do like an archival varnish to seal the watercolor. And then this piece, I finished it with cold wax on top of it.
Will the varnish make it shiny, and then the cold wax will make it matte appearing again, or is that reason?
So the cold varnish, so if I were to put the cold wax on first, it might smear some of the paint. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I always use a matte archival varnish just because I don't really like
Gotcha.
shiny things. So yes, it's a matte varnish, and then the cold wax, it kind of gives it a matte look as well.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because when I think of varnish, I usually think of the shiny stuff, right? I'm
Yeah.
not thinking of a matte varnish. So
Mhm.
yeah, and then what made you start mounting on wood panel instead of just having watercolor paper and
Um,
framing it?
I feel like a glass that, is non-glare and non-reflective is really expensive. And so I wanted people to be able to see the texture of the paper as well as the texture in the painting a little bit easier. And so I wanted a way to eliminate the glass from the entire process. And so mounting them to the wood panel was the next best thing.
And what do you use? Is it just what kind of adhesive do you use to mount it on your paper on the wood panel?
I use a golden matte medium. And so, I
Oh,
mean, a lot of like collage artists use that to
oh, okay.
mount their collage pieces on top of that. And so that's a good enough medium to adhere the paper to the cradled wood panel.
That's really cool. I love when I see people using wood panel, especially because I think what I've seen of your work, it's pretty thick panel too.
Yeah, I mean, you can use like an inch and a half panel. And so it looks like a canvas
Right.
piece that you normally see.
Right.
Very abstract, but also what's unique about this, and a lot of people have a problem wrapping their head around abstract work, right?
Mhm.
But your work is very accessible and really easy to, it's just beautiful. So it's easy to wrap your head around it. And also what I enjoy about it is that every single time I look at a particular piece and I spend a little time with it, I start seeing more and more. It starts to come out, as I spend more time with it, which I love. Do you get that from other people as well?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a meditative experience, just discovering the different textures in each piece and the different layers and watercolor itself. I mean, there's pieces or cut paints that granulate too, and so that gives you just another added layer of texture in the work that you do if you use the granulating paints.
Hey, Todd, can you bring up one for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you go 3 rows down, there's one that's called First of Spring. You see that one?
Yes.
Okay, bring that one up. I love this one. Yes, that one. I love this. And once again, I'm always fascinated where people throw color that just a splash of color that I wouldn't have thought of.
Mhm.
And the red on this or burgundy or whatever color that is, it really just like I was attracted to this piece and I thought it's fantastic. Can you talk about this piece a little bit?
Sure. So this piece was part of a series that I did in 2022 called Comfort in Chaos. And so it's a series built on trying to fixate on the little things that bring you comfort in a world of chaos, because that's when the world was opening back up after coronavirus and having to go back into the office, and for me anyways. And then we were also at that time considering moving to Denver. So there was just a lot going on in life in general. And so searching for those little things that bring you joy in springtime in the Pacific Northwest, once things start blooming, it's just brings you a whole new light because you know that summer's coming and that's when you start to see the sunshine again. And so this little splash of color is like the first little bud of a flower that you see when spring starts. And so it's kind of a sign of hope.
Yeah. No, I love it. And yeah, this is a magnificent piece. How big a piece is it? Oh, it's 22 by 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, love that. I'd love to see this in person. So,
And is that kind of a standard size for you, 22 by 30?
Yeah, I mean that's a standard watercolor size, so that's kind of where you get stuck. I mean, that's the problem with not a problem, but one of the constraints with watercolor, like you're limited to paper sizes.
sure.
That makes sense. Good call, Wes. This is a really beautiful piece. And again, it's one of those pieces, I kind of picked out a handful of pieces I wanted to talk about today, and I'm glad you you wanted me to pull this one up because now I'm spending time with it. I'm like, I can totally see what you're describing, Tiffani. And it's like a metamorphosis, right? Like that's what I feel like. It's like right before everything, like you were describing, like pokes through. Like it hasn't completely like taken shape
Right.
yet. It hasn't come into focus quite yet. I guess that's the other thing that I really enjoy about your work is it's very dynamic. All your pieces are really dynamic.
Thank you. A lot of that is just spending so much time trying to understand color and their interaction. I mean, if you can see like these pieces behind me
Yeah, the
on my
swatches.
Zoom. So I have like 90 colors on my palette, and I spent a year doing 50-50 color mixes of all 90 of those colors so that I could really understand what they did when you mix them together. So there are 8,100 little 1-inch squares of color that I did over the course of a year to make people think I'm a crazy person.
And those are squares of watercolor.
Uh-huh.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Because I work in the printing industry and they do swatches for matching colors.
Mhm.
So that's what it reminded me of. But
Well,
yeah, that Lorenzo Chavez did that too. He did when he was working with Terry Ludwig, he would make all his students do that, like different hues and everything. So I got to see Lorenzo's book that he brought. And so it's very similar to that. So kudos for you. That had to be a ton of work.
it was, yeah.
So talk about that. Like all of a sudden one day you're like, I need to make a lot of tiny squares and work on color.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, so those classes that I was taking in Seattle to kind of really dive deep into my watercolor practice also did a little bit of that in them. And I was like, this is why my work has really sucked the past like 15, or so years, because I just haven't spent any time really studying the color and how they play into each other. And so I was like, all right, let's fucking go. Let's go all in. So like I committed to doing this. And I mean, I learned so much from it. And before I even start a painting, I will go to these, color matrices and like figure out what colors I need to mix together to get the colors that I want. It's just become a part of my process to go look at these, find those colors, and then use them for painting.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's dedication right there.
That is dedication. And I have mad respect for you doing that, like taking the time to experiment on this level. I mean, this isn't even, and if people want to go to Tiffani's Instagram, this is a recent post. And by the time you hear this, I'm sure she'll have more posts, but it'll be pretty early on and you'll find it right off. But yeah, I'm kind of blown away. That's a lot of little squares. That's a lot of experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you use Pink Floyd, I totally respect that.
Yeah.
Any Color You Like by Pink Floyd. I love that. That's a great song.
I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan, so.
You and me both.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit further on this whole thing. So every day you would set a little bit of time aside or, every couple days and just mix colors and experiment and see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rhythm to it. So it's like, you start with all of them at the top and then all of them at the bottom. So you know which ones you're getting, like which ones you're going to be mixing together. So you can just stop and start pretty easily. But yeah, and, spend 30 minutes here, an hour on the weekends, or maybe more, just painting these squares. It sounds ridiculous, but it's actually very therapeutic because you don't really have to put a lot of thought into it either. You're just kind of going through and mixing the color and then putting it on the paper.
Well, it's a good way to learn color theory too.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think every artist, if you're struggling with understanding color, this is the solution right there.
Yeah. And the class that I'm teaching a watercolor 101 class at the end of September. In that class, we do a little bit of color theory and we do a small little matrices like that so that people can learn how to mix the colors in watercolor. Because it's a little different because watercolor has 3 different properties. They're either opaque, translucent, or they granulate. And so that can kind of change the way that colors mix together. It's not very like, black and white. There's a little bit of gray area because of those different pigment qualities.
And did you kind of, pun intended, plot this out as far as the way you were going to go about it? Or did you just start with one part of the color spectrum and just work your way through it?
I knew I was going to do a 50-50 mix of all 90 of those colors.
Okay.
So I knew like how many sheets I needed. I drew out all the squares and then started and continued.
And did all the math. I love it. I mean, it really is spectacular. And what a great learning experience. So it took you an entire year to do this.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about process.
Okay.
So when you start a piece, do you have something in mind, or is it just like from what you learned doing this exercise, choosing some colors that you want to work with and just working it from there and see where it goes? How does that come about? How do you go about it?
I always start with the color and figuring out which ones I want to be in the painting. And so I'll look at these matrices, I'll figure out how they need to be mixed to get those colors. And then I'll do a little sheet of seeing all those colors side by side. And from there, I will kind of figure out what percentage of each color I want to be in each painting. And then that percentage will then drive the composition.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah. So it's not just you're laying down color and seeing where it goes, or mixing colors and then throwing salt in there and going, oh, I like how that went. I mean, there's some of that, right, to a certain extent, but you've really thought this out prior to really starting the piece.
Yes. Yeah. I've planned it out. I'm a planner.
Yeah. That architect comes out.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And this is what I love about doing this podcast, is hearing what goes into, making these works of art. I mean, you would not get that sense or know what was going on if you just happened to, walk through NKollectiv and saw some of your work. You're just taking it in for what it is, which is what you should do. But
Right.
I think you have way more of appreciation when you hear the thought behind it.
Each piece. Yeah.
I have another piece I'm going to make you bring up, Todd.
Okay.
So
let's do it.
Let's do this. This is easy. It's the next row down. And this one's called 2022-010. And the reason I want to talk about this one is we see the process with the salt, but the top part, I'll let him bring it up first. Did you find it? Yep. There we go. I love what you got going on in the upper part. Yeah. I love the diagonal line. So it's not a horizontal line. It's like horizon.
Yeah.
And this looks like a piece of linen laid down.
Oh.
So talk about this.
Yeah. So the upper part, I'm scoring into the paper while it's wet, and the pigment goes into the scores. But I started doing this texture in some of my paintings for a couple of different reasons. One, I saw this video of a mushroom kind of growing up from the ground that's, in fast motion. And so the underside of the mushroom, that texture that they have, is where I got the idea for doing the lines. But I also like it because I think it represents a little bit of growth in people, like, letting your own scars being proud of them, because they are who you are and they've made you who you are. And so by scarring the paper, I feel like I'm releasing some of the negativity that comes along with it, because it's also very comforting and soothing to actually hear the paper being scored through as well. And so that is the idea behind doing that part of the painting.
And this one says it's floated frame. So what made you use a frame on this one as opposed to just the mounted on the wood panel?
After a while, I've learned that just the paper itself is still pretty sensitive and delicate, and sometimes you can bump it. And so I like the frames, so it just protects the edge of the paper.
Sure.
But I also feel like it kind of, ups the painting level, or like the professional level of the painting a little bit, gives it a little bit more presence, and sometimes it looks a little more finished with the frames.
Well, and definitely, I mean, visually, like seeing it on a computer screen, it also gives it a visual, interest because of the black background or the black frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something when I was scrolling through this one was another one that really caught my eye. And it was the score, the top part where you scored that I thought brought a lot of interest to it. So yeah.
It's yummy.
It is yummy.
Yeah.
And then eating it though.
You're not?
I mean, there's certain pieces of work that give you a different different sensory experience, right?
Yeah.
And this one, if I was going to describe it, I would describe it as yummy. Like, it's so good, I almost want to eat it.
I'll take that. I'll take it.
Right.
We all like eating yummy food, right?
We do.
Yeah. It's just a whole other experience that you're relating or somebody's experiencing. And yeah. So when you're working on, and we ask this question a lot, but do you work on multiple pieces at a time?
Yeah. I mean,
you can do that with the work that you do.
And they're different layers. You're letting them dry in between. And so you end up working on more than one piece at a time.
So I know you do a lot of wet on wet, right? That's obvious. So do you do much where it's wet on dry canvas?
Yeah, I mean, when there are different layers, I'll do the wet on the dry. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got a couple watercolors in this area, and one of them is John Crane, and his stuff is so finely, he does landscapes and farm scenes and stuff, and it's all watercolor, but the control he has with that is amazing, and and it's just his style of painting. Yeah. So, and where like Du Bois, he's no longer with us. Du Bois, what he would do, he would do scenes too, but the abstract of it was all wet on wet. Yeah. And it's just interesting. Both of them fantastic artists, both of them feel totally different, but it's interesting. So that's cool that you do both.
Yeah.
So
that piece that we looked at the beginning, Glacier Beach, that you could technically say that it was wet on dry because that blue layer was dry. And then I, did the wet on top of it with the black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice.
I'm going to bring up another piece where it appears that you've scored the paper. And this one is called Illusion.
Yeah.
I love this palette for one, but also the texture that is present here.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about this. You definitely scored this paper as well, right?
Yeah, I used, so there are utensils that you can buy that people that are decorating cakes use. And so I used like a little cake decorating fork to get the texture in this one.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So are you always out on the lookout for different tools maybe that aren't necessarily used for, what most people would have imagined them being used for?
Yeah, I mean, I've used like the top of fence posts. I have like clay tools that I use. I've used the side of a credit card. I mean, anything that I can get my hands on, it'll give me something that you've never done before. I'm kind of always experimenting with it.
Nice.
That's cool. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great piece. I love this.
Thank you.
This is really awesome. Yeah.
And then, so the border here, that's all dry brush. So there's basically like no water being used on that one. And that's how you get kind of that sort of faded look in the, as it goes towards the center of the piece.
Almost like a vignette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you also show like what it looks like on, like really give the viewer. I think this is really smart because sometimes you really can't get a sense of what, especially if you're going to purchase it online, right? Yeah. So you actually show like the edge of this particular piece, that it's a finished edge on, the board that it's mounted on. Yeah. The panel is finished. So
yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Oh yeah.
I just hung a bunch of art today where the edges were not finished, and that drives me crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the detail-minded part of me can't stand it when things aren't finished.
Right.
And you also kind of get a little bit more sense of the texture from this angle as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really nice.
Actually kind of run your hands across it and you can feel the texture in there from the scoring of the paper in this one.
Oh.
You sound like you've taken different classes and stuff. Have you had mentors that have helped you out along the way?
I mean, the lady that I took classes from in Seattle, her name's Linda James, and I would consider her a mentor for watercolor. It's because I learned a lot from her in taking her classes, and I feel like her classes are what helped me develop my style. So I would definitely say she's a very prominent figure in my watercolor journey.
Do you think taking classes and workshops from other artists is important? Would you suggest that to other artists?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you kind of a dedicated time slot to experiment and less pressure to feel like you're having to produce something, and it just gives you time to play and learn new things. And I think that's just important not only for artists, but for people in general, to just give your own self whatever you feel like you need to play with, just give yourself time to play and learn new things.
You've had a lot of shows since you've moved to Colorado, and you've had shows previous
Mhm.
in other states.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about where you've shown since you've lived here in Colorado.
So group shows, I was in Seesaw Gallery, a group show last spring there with Shanae Hunt, Christina Davies, and Jessica Loving. And so it was a group of 4 women, and all our work were up at the same time. And that was a great show. And then I have a show coming up at NKollectiv this coming September. And those are the two kind of prominent shows I would say I've had, but then I've just had individual pieces in different galleries over the past 3 years.
Yeah, a lot of galleries. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it seems like every time I go out, walk into a gallery, it's like, oh, there's some of Tiffani's work.
I applied to 17 or 18 different individual like calls for work last year. And so, well, actually, no, I applied to many more than that, but I got into like 17 or 18. And so that's probably why you saw my work out about last year.
I mean, I love it. I mean, I think that's spectacular. And you're very proactive in your art career. Like, you have this, this professional career. You're a professional artist. Do you consider yourself a full-time artist?
Yeah. I mean, how many hours are in a day? So like half of them are architecture, half of them are artists. And then while I'm doing both of those, I'm throwing a toy for Border Collie.
So you pretty much are painting almost every day?
No, actually, I only paint on the weekends.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, work days are filled with work, and then it takes me a little bit to get into the headspace of painting. And so I usually just don't have enough time to get there during the week.
Sure. Not enough time to like decompress from your regular 9 to 5 to transitioning to that headspace. What do you do to get into that headspace?
There you go.
I'll come into the studio, I'll make sure I have music on, and then start looking at the color charts and like getting, excited about different colors and their relationships to one another. And then as soon as I'm excited about colors, I'll then start painting.
So it all starts with the color.
It does. It's all about the color. I mean, as cliche as it is, it's all about the color.
How much influence does the music have in setting that tone as you're looking at color?
I'd say not as much, generally because when I'm painting, I'm always listening to music that doesn't have words. And so it's always sort of soothing background, ambient kind of music.
Okay. Well, we mentioned Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I don't really ever paint to Pink Floyd.
no.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about when you're talking ambient music in the background?
Well, my favorite band is Sigur Rós.
What is it? Oh,
Sigur Rós. They're
from
nice.
Iceland, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Thievery Corporation, Saint Germain, kind of all that little like ambient music.
Hello, it's Todd Pearson. Wes Brown and I want to cordially invite you to Art and Ag 2025. The Fleischer Family Farm, in conjunction with the Tenet Podcast, present our annual art festival, Art and Ag, Saturday, September 20th from 10 to 4. Located at 2005 South Zephyr Court in the heart of the Southern Gables neighborhood, come experience this magnificent setting where you can buy farm fresh produce, peruse beautiful art, and support local artists. We have a stellar lineup participating in this year's fest, so come help us usher in fall with good food, good friends, and gorgeous art. Stay tuned to our social media for more details, and in the meantime, check out the Fleischer Family Farm website at fleischerfamilyfarm.com. Tell all your friends, and we'll see you at the farm September 20th for Art and Ag 2025. We thank you for your support.
I'm Tiffani Erdmanczyk, and you're listening to the Tenet Podcast.
Hey, I'm going to pull up another piece because this is a little bit different from some of your other work. And it's part of a series called Discovering Home.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about this because it's a little bit of a departure from what I normally see.
So this series was the first series that I did based on anything here in Colorado. And, we moved here from Seattle, and the landscape is just completely different. There are less trees here, less vegetation. And so I wanted to do something based on the landscape here in Colorado. And so I do a lot of hiking with my dogs. We go to the dog park down in Chatfield quite a bit. And so I use compositions from the hikes and from Chatfield to do compositions for those paintings. So these are all based on Colorado landscapes. And that's why it's called the Discovering Home series, because it's part of me discovering my new home, Colorado.
Yeah. I know these are really cool.
Yeah. I thought it was a really interesting series. And I love, again, it's very dynamic. There's a lot going on here. I see, it looks like some more of the scoring going on. I see the usage of the salt.
Yep.
And then you got these really clean lines, well, as clean as watercolor can be, right?
Yeah.
And I really love the palette and all the texture and everything that you have going on in these.
Yeah, there was a lot of buildup to actually getting to the paintings. I mean, I chose the colors, and then I did like a series of each texture in each color, so I could determine what texture I wanted in each color first before actually doing the painting. And then once I decided that, then I kind of mapped it out.
I love it. Again, I love how much you're mapping these out to get to your vision,
Yeah.
So NKollectiv, you have the show coming up. Is that your main gallery at this point here in Colorado?
Yeah, that's the main gallery.
Do you have gallery representation in any other states?
I do not. Just at NKollectiv.
And so how did that relationship come about?
So I guess about, 2 years into being here in Colorado, had kind of done a little bit of research myself and was just trying to figure out where I fit into all of it. Because, there's a lot of galleries, there's a lot of co-ops. And I had been visiting NKollectiv when they were over there on Santa Fe quite often. And I thought Nicole did a really great job of inviting artists that were just really, really talented. And I loved that no matter when I popped by there was always going to be really high quality, great work there. And so, kind of just kept visiting. I did a little pop-up at NKollectiv at their new location this past December for like a Christmas pop-up. And they're on Broadway now over in Inglewood. And after that pop-up, I told Nicole, I was like, I know you got more space. If you need another artist, like definitely let me know. I'm very interested. And a couple of days later, she emailed me and asked me to join NKollectiv. And so here I am.
Very cool.
Yeah.
She's worked her butt off to get to this point, and I am just impressed by the quality of work that she shows in her gallery and the artists that she's been working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a hard worker. I don't know how she does everything she does.
I'm going to pull up one more piece because literally there's so many pieces that as I was perusing your work, I was like, oh, I want to talk about that one. Oh, I want to talk about that one. Then I bring Wes in and he's like, hey, bring up this one. But I definitely, before we leave off today, definitely want to talk about this. And this one is called New Horizons. It's a little bit different than some of the other pieces we've been talking about because of the color palette.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about what this represents and the thought behind it.
Honestly, it's such a weird, serendipitous moment in when I created it and what was happening. At this time, I was switching jobs, but it was also when the coronavirus started. And so I painted it before the coronavirus started, just before it started, but I was switching jobs and I kind of figured was thinking of this as a new horizon for it. And ever since then, it's kind of been like a line in the sand in terms of a lot of things that have happened in my life. Like I'm at a new job for architecture that I really love. I feel like at that point, I had really kind of developed my own style in watercolor. So I was feeling like I was really getting into the groove there. And, all of those things have kind of led us to be here in Colorado, and we both really love being in Colorado. So I just feel like a lot of really positive things have happened since I painted this piece. And it just so happened that I painted it at that time when sort of that line in the sand was drawn for life in general. So I keep this one. This one's in my house.
This is not for sale?
It is not. That's why there's $0.00 that you can pay for.
It's not free.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
It's really, really lovely.
Thank you.
I loved hearing the story behind it, but even if I hadn't have known that, I love all the layers and what appropriate title for it as well. Yeah, just spectacular.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And this is actually, you can find this if you scroll down on Tiffani's website under the portfolio section. So unless you come to the table with a bunch of cash, she's not selling it.
No. I need to see the Benjamins, all the Benjamins.
Well, so go ahead, Wes.
Oh, I was just going to say, so the interesting thing is, I've been like delving into Rothko and last couple months or whatever. And so this is like his early stuff. Like this kind of reminds me of his early, not the big ones that you see. Yeah. Well, they're still big, but not the big ones you see, but like his early kind of stuff where he's really starting to formulate his style in the final, I guess, metamorphosis of his style or whatever, which is a horrible word to use for that. But this, long story short, kind of reminds me of that. And probably just because I've been influenced, because I've been delving a little bit into his work. Speaking of artists, we've talked about favorite architects. Who's some of your favorite artists?
Definitely Rothko. He's a big influence because he's so focused on color as well. And then a lot of them actually aren't watercolor artists because quite honestly, there aren't a lot of watercolor artists that are doing this. And so, but a lot of like abstract expressionist paintings, like Jill Mitchell. I like Georgia O'Keeffe just in terms of learning technique. I don't necessarily resonate with her subject matters for the most part, but technique, definitely. Who else? Paul Jenkins. He actually does watercolor, but he does a lot of abstract work. It's more like pouring of watercolor, which is another way of utilizing that medium.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. There's a great, for people out there that's interested in Rothko, there's a great documentary on him. I don't remember the name of it or what channel, but there's a documentary out about his stuff. It might be on Netflix or Prime, but amazing documentary.
Yeah. There's a lot of Rothko paintings that you get to see in Houston. They have a really big art scene there, and there's a chapel there that's dedicated just to his work, and it is just absolutely amazing. They have like meditation classes that you can go and do there. I've never done one, but it's definitely a bucket list of wanting to go and just doing a meditation in that chapel, because the sound there is just amazing as well.
It's on my bucket list because once again, delving into Rothko, right? You find out that there's chapel down there.
Yeah.
But I did get to see a couple pieces of his work at the National Gallery and along with Burnett Newman.
Oh yeah.
And
his work as well.
I missed, he did some Rothkos on paper and I missed it by like a week. And I was so disappointed.
Are you talking about last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually got to see that early works show. And I'm glad that you brought Rothko up, because I had actually forgotten about it until you mentioned that and connecting the dots. And that early work show at the National Gallery was out of this world. I spent a ton, like pretty much the entire afternoon there at the National Gallery looking at that early work of Rothko's. That was, and I had no idea. I'm like, dang, this stuff is spectacular. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And, like everybody knows that listens to, well, only the people that listen. I poo-pooed everything about Rothko and Pollock and all that. But since doing this podcast, I've really grown an appreciation of all those masters. And Rothko, when you see his stuff, especially his big pieces, you just got to sit there. Mm-hmm. And then Barnett Newman, a big solid white thing with a line going down, but when you sit in front of it and just absorb it, or you walk up really close and just seeing the fine details and how it's really sharp on one end and maybe that line isn't quite so sharp on the other, and it's all, on purpose. It just, And I've been to Clifford Steele's museum and didn't remember. So that's because we interviewed Dean Sobel and I was like, Todd, we should go. And Todd was like, we've already been there, Wes. And I'm like, no, I know. Then I asked my wife, and of course she had to verify that, yes, Wes, we did go there. And I've yet to go back, and I'm so itching to go back because I want to see his work again. So,
well, let's do that when you come down.
Yeah, I hated, I had no appreciation for abstract art, because I figure if I can do it as an 8-year-old, it's not art, right? We all feel this way. If I can do it, it's not art. Now that I'm much older and wiser and know, there's no way in hell I could do that. Even pouring drips on big canvases would not be a Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
It would be a poor imitation. So yeah, Clifford Steele, I'm coming for you.
The Clifford Steele Museum is actually my favorite U.S. building.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a great piece of architecture as well.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And people are clueless that's what's inside that building, I feel like,
Right.
Even, I mean, we're so lucky to have all that work in that museum here. It's pretty spectacular.
And some people are clueless even after they go there.
Yeah.
How embarrassing, Wes.
I love you, dude.
I know. Thank you.
Sometimes there's just not any hope for some people.
Right. You got to have a podcast about art to understand abstract art, because you got to talk to people that are knee deep in it. Mm-hmm. And somebody might look at your work and not get it. But once you spend time with your stuff, that's one thing. But once you spend an hour and a half or whatever with you, if you walk away still not appreciating, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, I'm always that way. I'm always like, once I talk to the artist, it's just brings up another level of appreciation. So that's why we love having you on the podcast.
And I definitely have more of an appreciation for abstract work as well. And what I realized, what you just kind of said, Wes, is that, and we've talked about this numerous times, abstract work, you see a lot of it, but it's very difficult to do it well.
Yeah.
You got to spend some time with it. Even my wife, who really is not ultra into art by any stretch of the imagination, she will bring up stuff. I'm like, dang, you really are gaining an appreciation, because I drag you to all these shows and galleries all the time. She goes, I don't know that this is right. I'm like, you're right on the money. You're observing and you're starting to learn a little bit more about it. And so that's always nice to see that happen.
Kind of funny, at the Art and Ag last year, your wife was there, and she even came up to me and she's like, I don't really usually like abstract work and I don't get it, but yours is actually really calming. And so I was like, wait, I'll take that compliment any day.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can win over somebody, that's pretty good. Yeah. Real quick, I noticed you had some oblong art. Where did that come from? And just briefly talk about that.
I do, the architecture side of me likes to kind of experiment with different shapes. And so I had done some circular work, but I was really drawn to the proportion of those oblong pieces. And so I also kind of wanted to challenge myself in terms of composition as well. And so doing a painting for an oblong piece in trying to figure out the composition is a little challenging as opposed to always working with rectilinear pieces. And so it was just kind of a fun challenge that I wanted to give to myself.
Yeah. And I thought you were getting into skateboards for a minute.
I told someone said, I was like, oh, you should do skateboard design. I was like, all right, sure. If anybody wants a skateboard, I'll do a skateboard.
Billy Ludwig, he's doing skateboards. And I thought you were delving into skateboards too.
Funny enough. So to mount the paper to the cradle panels, I use these vacuum seal bags that a skateboard company puts out because they, in order to get the skateboard, you laminate different pieces of wood. So they use those vacuum seal bags to laminate the skateboards. And so those are what I use to mount my wood watercolor paper to my wood panels.
Nice. I think there's going to be wheels in the future.
Oh, for sure.
People are going to be riding them in skateboarding parks.
I'll take it.
All right.
We talked about that piece, New Horizons, being priceless. How do you go about pricing your work?
It is per square inch kind of multiplier. And for smaller pieces, it's a little bit higher just because, it's still the same amount of work that goes into it. It's just smaller. And so, yeah, this is a price per square inch.
And if you don't mind me asking, whereabout does your work start and what does it go up to?
So those pieces that we were looking at that were 22 by 30, those are probably, well, I've done some 24 by 36 pieces, but so the 20 by 30 were like 1,300, right? Like that was the price for those. And then like I'll have some 5 by 7 pieces for my show, and those will be 90. So it's kind of about where they start. But I do offer prints because I like having a price point that's accessible for everybody.
And what do your prints go for? And I know you do limited editions, right? You only do certain pieces that are prints, right?
Yeah, I mean, I not because I planned it that way. I just I print a certain number and then that's what I try to sell. Yeah, but those are much more affordable. Yeah.
I also saw we've kind of pivoted to a little bit more on the business side here, that you do commissions. Do you do a lot of commissions?
Not a lot, just here and there. They pop up. Most of them have been through with people that have known or worked for or with. So yeah, but always willing to do a commission.
Sure.
And on your website, you kind of lay out like your process. Talk a little bit about that.
I like to give them a couple of things to think about because it helps me plan out and figure out what the price for their commission is going to be. So, what colors they want to use, how they want it mounted, whether they want to see a deckled edge or whether they want it to be mounted on the cradle panel, and just any inspiration that they have that they want to shoot over to me to give me a kind of an idea of what they want to go. And so once we do all that, I'll then do color swatches for them so that they can see the colors that'll end up in the piece. And then once they're okay with those color swatches, then I go at it.
Nice. Do they have a lot of input as far as the inspiration? I know you say, give me some inspiration, but of what it's supposed to look like, or is that kind of all up to your discretion?
It depends on the person. If they have something that they want it to be based on, then they'll bring that to the table. Like a friend of mine that I used to work with, I did a commission for them last year. They had just moved to Maine and they were really into the colors of the fall when the leaves change. And so that was the inspiration for the piece that I did for them. And then other people, I mean, they don't have as much criteria that they come to the table with. They don't really care, and they give me more freedom. So it just depends on the person.
Yeah, nobody's come up with a faucet and say, build my house around this faucet.
No, thank goodness.
Paint my commission like this.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Oh,
which
yeah.
commercial I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Design my house around this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever, dude.
You have the show at NKollectiv coming up. Well, actually, when this airs, it will have already opened. Let's talk about that. Like, what are people going to see? When does it open? And how long does it run?
So it opened on September 4th. It will run until September 28th. And myself and Carol Till are the featured artists for this show. And the idea behind the show was, it started with me having a conversation with my husband, actually. I was like looking at we were driving through Chatfield Park, and I was looking at the frozen water and thinking about how lovely that is and how much it represents sort of a lot of what my work does in terms of trying to capture the movement of water. And I'm having this like great, like spiritual moment about winter. And then all of a sudden my husband starts complaining about hating winter. And I was like, there are just different seasons for everyone, both in life and throughout the year. And so I came up with a color palette for each season of the year. And so I have 4 pieces that are made up of 12 different or 12 6-inch diameter circles. And each of those circles has one of the colors for that color palette. And so then I took those color palettes and did other paintings based on those. So there's a couple for fall. There's fall paintings, summer paintings, spring paintings, and winter paintings.
Nice. And the show is called
Drift. Yeah.
Drift. Did you come up with the name?
Yeah, me and ChatGPT.
Nice.
Do you use ChatGPT very often?
Not a lot. I try not to, because I know the energy pool it has for the amount of electricity that it uses to do those searches. So to be more environmentally conscious, I try not to use it every now and then, but it is another one of those necessary evils in the process sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting, not to like pivot on technology, but it's interesting. 10 years ago, we were all about the earth and like saving the planet, and everybody should drive a Tesla. And then we start building data centers for heavy computer crunching that uses water, a precious element that we need.
Yeah.
And I know that I did some research, and they are exploring other ways of cooling these giant data centers down. But I don't know. There's data centers that are being proposed in Rapid City, not like ChatGPT ones. I don't know. I think they're like a different type of data centers, but they use water to cool all their electricity, and plus electricity that is being used for human consumption, and now it's being used by AI. So I don't know. It's a scary thing, but I use ChatGPT a lot. I'm searching shit all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, this is so weird. A little side note: Mr. OpenAI himself said that you shouldn't put please and thank you because it uses energy.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break, dude. Maybe we shouldn't be using it at all.
There's that aerial.
Anyway, go ahead.
There's an aerial photographer that I like. His name's Tom Hegan. He did a whole series on lithium mines. And so, lithium is mined for all the batteries that are used in Tesla. But it's such a drain on all the resources where those mines are that your Tesla isn't necessarily as environmentally friendly as you think it is.
Right.
Unfortunately, nothing is. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Natural gas to run the power generators, or unless you're doing hydro, you're burning coal, you're burning gas. I mean, you got to charge it. It takes electricity.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Going back to your drift show.
Thank you, Todd, for pulling us away. He's like, I'm not going down this.
Drifting along here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this episode will air after the opening reception on the 6th, but you can go check it out absolutely anytime the NKollectiv is open. But there is a thing called Second Saturday on September 13th from 4 to 8 p.m. where you can go check all this work out for this drift exhibition. And there's also a little printmaking demo with your partner in this particular show, Carol Till, on the 13th. But you are actually teaching a class on the 27th. Talk about a little bit more about that. You mentioned it earlier on in the podcast.
Yeah, so it's a watercolor 101 class. I figured while my work is up at NKollectiv, there's no better time to teach a class while it's up, so I can show the students different examples of how different colors interact, how different pigments interact, and textures. And the class will start with teaching folks just the basic applications of how to get the pigment on the paper. And then we do a little bit of color theory. And then I teach people how to do a ton of different textures on the paper with the watercolor. And we do a couple of different compositions. So by the end of the day, they get to take home like 5 or 6 different little compositions that they've done throughout the class.
That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
And how long is the class?
It's from 10 to 4. So,
okay.
And then you get a little lunch break. So about 6 hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good little Saturday.
And I kind of want to go back to the texture thing for just a moment. Outside of salt and scoring paper, what else, and using different tools, burnishing tools or what have you, do you use other materials with your watercolor?
I've used wax before in some of my pieces, but those are kind of the more prominent textures that I've used in my paintings. But there are other textures that you can get with other methods, and I teach those in the class as well. There's like blowing watercolor through a straw. You can kind of get like a splatter effect, or you can use screens to get different effects as well. Saran wrap gets you kind of a good texture for rocks or that kind of thing in nature.
Oh, wow. What
else do we use? We use like a rubber cement to do reliefs on some of the textures. There's a couple more, but I'm kind of drawing blanks at the moment.
I'm going to pull up one more piece before we leave off today. And this particular piece is entitled Erosion.
Yeah.
Really, really dig this. This is either been sold or is not for sale. Is that correct?
Yeah, it has been sold. Yeah.
Okay. So talk a little bit about this. We've been talking a little bit about resources and water. Mm-hmm. And so this seems like an appropriate piece to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the idea that water is such a powerful resource for us, and it's created so many different landmarks that we have on Earth, and water is always going to win. You can't underestimate the power of it, and it's in its power and how much we need it. And so just trying to bring that to the forefront of people's minds and let them know that water is not, we don't have an endless supply of it. You know, we have to conserve as much of it as we can.
It was a really, really lovely piece.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Other shows that you have coming up after NKollectiv between now and the end of the year? Do you have anything else that you're going to be part of?
We'll probably do some holiday pop-ups at NKollectiv, so I'll have a few days that I'll do some of those, but I don't have currently anything else planned. So kind of just want to play a little bit and then figure out what to do next.
Nice. And we've been talking about all these pieces of work. A lot of them were in the part of the Tiffani's website under the shop tab. So if you're listening from elsewhere, you can definitely reach out to her and purchase work online as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it right on my website.
Wes, you have any more questions that you would like to ask today?
I don't think I do. This has been phenomenal.
Great. Yeah.
So, Tiffani, thank you so much for, taking the time out of your day, and looking forward to seeing more of your work as things go on. So
Yeah.
this has been fun. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was great.
Good.
Excellent. So my last question for you, and I've been asking this a lot as of late, because it seems in this scenario that we are in, it may be hard to overlook happiness. Your paintings give me a sense of happiness viewing them. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
But what is your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh. I don't think that exists, really. But I strive more for balance than I do for perfection. And so for me, being happy means being able to have time to paint, exercising to take care of myself, making sure my dogs are happy, and hanging out with my hubby.
Right on.
That's fantastic.
I appreciate that. You're a realist. That's why I like you. Well, I second everything that Wes said, and thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon away from your husband and the pups and your work to spend a little time with us to talk about all these beautiful creations that you've been putting out into the world. I look forward to your show at NKollectiv coming up, and I look forward to interacting with you in person again sometime in the very near future.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks so much for having me on.
You bet.
Again, follow Tiffani on Instagram at Tiffani Erdmanczyk Art, and check out Tiffani's stunning work at her website, TiffaniErdmanczykArt.com. And don't forget to check out Tiffani's show with Carol Till entitled Drift at NKollectiv, located at 3485 South Broadway in Inglewood. The show runs to the 28th of September, and if you're interested in learning about watercolor, sign up for Tiffani's class happening the 27th of September at Easel, housed at NKollectiv Gallery. You can sign up via the link on our website. As usual, I will have all this and more in this week's episode notes. For the Tenet Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.